I don't want to see Hummers driven off the market by the government. I want to see everything given a level, equal chance. The thing that bothers me is that in fact, it's not a level, equal chance. We're using our military to ensure the flow of oil. We're using tax dollars to support the car companies in different ways, and we're not using our tax money to do the things that we really need to do to prepare for the future.
Federal policy has always had tremendous power to shape the future. As it gave enormous incentives to buy SUVs, the federal government also sued California to stop the electric car. Some pointed to the influence of the oil and auto industries.
They control things in Washington, they and the automobile industry. Now they've got Andy Card, their former lobbyist, right there as chief of staff in the White House. And I guess they don't have to pay lobbyists anymore, so they're saving a little money there.
Andrew Card was chief of staff when the Bush administration joined the suit against California. Card had also been president and CEO of the American Automobile Manufacturers Association during its campaign to kill California's electric car mandate.
Industries began to see, if we don't kill this cancer in California, it's going to spread to the rest of the country. And I think it became a strategy on the part of many companies to make it a national issue. I was even told once by a very prominent congressman, who I shall not mention by name, that I can understand and tolerate what you're doing in California, but if you ever try to spread your California program to the rest of my country, I'm going to have to do battle with you.
Sometimes I listen to the energy debate, and I think I'm watching an old movie that was made back in the 70s, because the discussion is exactly the same as it was 30 years ago.
Our average vehicle, average car on the road is less efficient than it was 20 years ago. And this is just a complete abdication of leadership, political leadership, really, because it's impossible to get fuel economy standards passed through the U.S. Congress.
After the OPEC oil embargo in the 1970s, the U.S. government created corporate average fuel economy, or CAFE standards, to improve fuel economy in American vehicles. As a result, in less than 10 years, fuel economy increased by more than 50%. Unfortunately, 2 decades later, there has been virtually no change.
Jimmy Carter was the last president that really made energy a high priority, and he devoted his first 90 days in office to putting together an energy plan. I was there as part of it, and no president since then has put that kind of effort into it.
I am tonight setting a clear goal for the energy policy of the United States. Beginning this moment, this nation will never use more foreign oil than we did in 1977. Never.
There was just a radical change when Ronald Reagan came in and took down the solar panels off the White House roof that Jimmy had put up and essentially declared war on the sun.
I put a freeze on pending regulations and set up a task force under Vice President Bush to review regulations with an eye toward getting rid of as many as possible. I have decontrolled oil, which should result in more domestic production and less dependence on foreign oil.
When Reagan came in, he was not a supporter of fuel economy, of conservation, of renewables. And in the mid-1980s, he basically stopped any improvements in fuel economy standards for cars. And then in 1985, the price of oil collapsed.
I would not lay all of the blame at Ronald Reagan's feet by any means. I think he had his share of responsibility, but so did the Saudis, who made the very calculating decision to drop the price of oil dramatically, principally to ensure that none of these alternative fuels and energy-saving measures really produced the desired results. So they kept the junkie hooked up, in other words. And as a result, we are today still addicted to oil.
When Clinton came in, and I worked for Clinton, we were definitely quite interested in trying to come up with alternatives and improve the fuel economy of the fleet. Politically, it was still very unattractive. The automobile lobby was quite powerful then, so the administration kind of made a bargain with the automobile companies, this partnership for a new generation of vehicles, where we would develop hybrid vehicles, a combination of a gasoline engine and an electric drivetrain. In return, we wouldn't really pursue fuel economy standards.
I never met a 5-year-old kid like this in my life, and when I shook hands with him, he said, "I'm glad to meet you, Mr. President. I want you to make a car that runs on electricity and doesn't pollute the air." I was so impressed, I went to get Al Gore, and I introduced him to this 5-year-old boy, and he said, "Hello, Mr. Vice President. I intend to spend my life working on this," and he said, "I am going to help you develop an electric car that has no pollution." And Al Gore says, "That means we're going to be partners." He said, "Yes, I guess so, but you don't understand. I'm going to spend my whole life on this."
For 8-9 years, we spent about $1 billion of the taxpayers' monies to develop hybrid vehicles. And ironically, the U.S. car companies didn't put any hybrids on the road. And in fact, the minute George Bush got elected president, the U.S. car companies walked away from hybrids. But, and this is the irony, the U.S. program got the Japanese very nervous. So Toyota and Honda, in response, developed hybrids because they didn't want to be beaten by the U.S.
Now they lure people into thinking they're doing something by their sweet talk, but I remember way back yonder they used to have this joke, and it's not a joke anymore. We're giving the environmentalists the music and the industry the action.
The second step toward making America less dependent on foreign oil is to produce and refine more crude oil here at home in environmentally sensitive ways. By far the most promising site for oil in America is the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska.
While it is predicted that the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge could supply America with slightly more than 1 year's supply of oil, simply raising fuel economy standards to 40 miles per gallon could save the same amount of fuel within 15 years.
The oil industry and the automobile companies are resistant to change. The American people need to be reminded that it took a law to get seatbelts in the cars. It took a law to get airbags in the cars. It took a law to get the mileage up from 12 to 20 miles per gallon. It took a law to get catalytic converters to control the pollution. And I think clean cars are too important to be left to the automobile industry.
The California mandate forced automakers to make electric cars. When California changed it, the cars vanished. Why did California retreat from the bold law it created?
Having visited all the car companies, they were saying, well, look, we can't produce these increasing numbers of the battery electric vehicles. And I became convinced that what are we supposed to do here? Is our job to clean the air? Or is it to force a certain number of a type of technology on the road?
Alan Lloyd failed in his leadership to really steer the zero-emission vehicle mandate toward a successful outcome.
Oh, I know Alec very well. I know Alec very well, and we had some heartfelt memos going back, and it pained me because I have the utmost respect for Alec, and it really pained me to be accused of basically abandoning the battery electrics.
In addition to his role as chairman of the Air Resources Board, Alan Lloyd had another position. Just 4 months before the meeting that killed the electric car, Lloyd accepted the chairmanship of the California Fuel Cell Partnership.
I've been involved with hydrogen since the early 90s. When I became chair of ARB 10